Yes, they're untangled. Welcome to MoggyBoxCraft. I'm Deborah and welcome back to my greenhouse and garden. And yes, that noise is a lawnmower. I think my neighbour has just started mowing the lawn. But don't worry, we're going to carry on regardless. Or maybe I should just mow my lawn as well and just go with the programme. At least we'll be making the same amount of noise. So today I'm going to do some weeding, some harvesting, some seed saving, and I'm definitely going to do some replanting today because I really need to. I also got this! 1,000 LED lights. I am planning to put this up in my Acer tray, but we'll get onto that in a little while. Is this excessive? Can you have too much lights in your garden? No. No, you can't. Absolutely not. The more lights the better. I think we might as well just put up the Christmas tree and just be done with this year as soon as the grilling season is over. Also going to be doing some harvesting, so I have got my sieves handy, so it means all the fruit's nice and easy to wash once I've picked it. I've also got a few seeds that I think I want to try and plant. None of these say I can grow them through the winter, but I really want to give it a try and see what happens. Where are we? August. Am I pushing the boundaries here? Absolutely. Who cares? Change your plan. First thing we're going to do is cut the grass. So now we've got the grass cut, I'm going to move on to doing some pruning. So I've already been deadheaded and doing some pruning this morning, so let's carry on with that. So all the flowers that have seen better days, chop them off and it'll just encourage new flowers to grow. Remember to remove any weeds. This guy can certainly go. And this is a stingy nettle. That can definitely go. I'm also going to trim the lower branches of this Acer tree just down here so I can put up my fairy lights. So that's had a really good chop back now. That's everything I've taken off the Acer. I've taken a few extra branches from up here. I'll just open everything up a little bit. Now I can see where this bramble is going. So the bramble is making a break for it, which I absolutely don't mind because I love brambles. And I don't mind if the bramble spreads out into this space here. Shall we put some lights on? So I've got a whole load of fairy lights. I just need to get it on that tree. I feel like I'm going to get a tangle already. I'm not even going to lie. We've just got to get those lights on that tree without the dogs peeing on anything. Wish me luck. If I get the lights up before it's completely dark, it'll be a miracle. This is definitely way more lights than I thought. So those lights are on finally. It's only taken 3 hours. This area next to the archway is a bit of a mess. Those lights are in a tangle, and those lights are in a tangle, and somehow I need to make it fit and look lovely on my archway. Not sure how I'm going to do that yet. But I'm going to carry on with these lights. I will not give up. Yes, they're untangled. Let me show you. I know this looks a little bit wild, but at least it's untangled. Operation Fairy Light continues. Jacob, you're going to have to move, darling. Yes, they're untangled. I have somewhat of something to work with now. Let's do this. The lights are up, finally. Yes, it is quite dark. It is a bit later at night. The archway looks somewhat better. The rose that was over there is now here. The rose that was here is now in here. And the peas that were down there are now in here. And all the new pea seedlings are growing really nicely, so fingers crossed we get peas before the end of the year. And this is where the blueberries live in now. It's getting dark, the wind is picking up. It's supposed to be a storm tonight. Maybe I should film the sunflower quickly. He might not make it if it's going to be a storm. We will continue gardening tomorrow. Well, it's a new day, the sun's shining, but we're going to start off where we left off with the sunflowers. So here's how the sunflowers looked last night. So now we've seen how they looked last night. Let's see how the rest of the flowers look today. But the darkest part of the garden is where I have the flowers. Yes, that is a sunflower up there. And here is how my sunflower's looking. I don't think he got that battered in the wind last night. A bit rugged around the edges, but I'm really pleased how that's looking. In this corner is a little bit drier, so the borage is looking really dried out. I did give it really good water last night. Hydrangeas are coming along nicely. I've done some weeding in this planter, but if I'm honest, I'm not entirely sure what's weeds and what's not anymore. Not sure what this is. Could this be a weed? Most likely, but I don't want to pull it out just in case it's pretty. And the hydrangeas are looking beautiful. They're definitely in full bloom now. Guess what I spotted in my planter? That looks like a sneaky hydrangea in my planter. So I'm going to leave it there, see what it does. I mean, I might have to remove it at some point and put it somewhere else. These 3 planters are looking beautiful. These are the same variety, just supposedly a different colour. One is supposed to be purple and one's supposed to be blue. They look very similar. One's taller, one's smaller. You can probably see the comparison there. These are absolutely gorgeous. I don't know how to pronounce this at all. I honestly think these might be my favourite flowers I've grown this year. Remember to deadhead, and that'll encourage more flowers to grow. The nasturtiums have definitely finished now, are now producing seeds. Here's what the seeds look like. So you can't just pick them off. Oh, actually you can see down here. Look how many seeds they've thrown off. I'm going to gather them up and I'm going to keep them for next year. I don't really know which colour is which anymore, but that doesn't really bother me. I've got loads of nasturtiums, so yeah, I'm going to keep all these for next year. Let's have a look how the potatoes are looking. So this is how I'm storing my potatoes, just in a thick paper bag. And I put the bag in a plastic bucket just to see if anything can get into it, to just give it a bit more protection. That's how the potatoes are looking. Close this up, stop any light getting to it. And here is how the garlic and onions are looking. They're definitely crisping up now. I really could cut the stems off them soon. The garlic is dried up really nicely. That's looking fab. I'm going to pick the absolute best ones to replant in September. Here's how the onions are looking. Still not quite convinced these are going to be that edible. Maybe a few of them will be. This one looks like it's going to be okay. So they're drying up nicely. Still a little bit of moisture in here. So I'm just going to leave the onions and garlic in here. It's nice, dry, cool and dark. On to the rest of the garden. Down here I've got an olive tree. So this olive tree has grown loads. So I am trying to train this, although you can hardly see them. I have got wire down here. So when this gets a bit longer, hopefully he'll run along here. And this one will go along this wire across here. But for now, I'm just going to leave it to grow. I'm really pleased as well that I've managed to get all those lights up. That was a task and a half. The bramble is in full fruiting mode now. I'm going to do some harvesting of the brambles. They look so good. What if I could just eat one of those? Oh my god, they're heavenly. Brambles are the best. I end up wanting to eat them all before they even get anywhere near the house to share with Andy. He's never going to know. Shh. Pear tree, climbing French bean, apple tree. There were definitely no pears on my pear tree this year. I think I might have pruned it back a bit too ferociously, and apparently that encourages lots of green leafiness. The climbing French bean is definitely climbing onto everything, onto the apple tree, into the pear tree, all the way up there. I don't see any beans as yet, but I'm sure they'll be coming. I keep thinking I've seen little flowers, but I'm not sure they're actually coming to anything. But definitely a lesson for next year. Next year I'll be moving the climbing French bean to this side of the archway, so it's got lots of space to grow up and over. The apples are looking fab as well this year. Cannot wait to make them into cider. So last night I moved the climbing rose over here, so hopefully that'll give them a little bit more space to grow up and over this side as well. These are extra peas I planted a couple of weeks ago. I'm hoping there's going to be enough time to get peas off them before we have our first frost. I have left a few of the pods on the old plant here, so I'm going to wait till they dry so I can harvest the seeds from them. Raspberry and red currant are finished for the year. So here is my blackberry. Starting to slowly ripen. Oh, nearly ready. Got a fair few this year. So yeah, it's just taking a little bit of time for them to ripen, but they are looking good so far. This little rose is here now. Not very strong. It's like flop over quite a bit, but the flowers are beautiful. So I think this rose is going to need a little bit more support. Onto the flowers up here. The mint seems to be doing particularly well as always. And everything else is now flowering. I did cut back the wildflowers because they'd gone wild. I think that's the strawberries finished now for the year. Oh no, wait! We do have some strawberry flowers. Maybe we'll get a few more. That would be lovely. So now we've got some runners. I am going to plant them in here today. I've got some more here, another one here. I'm going to plant them all. So to plant my runners, just cut off your runners. This one too, and this one. So I'm not sure if this is the right way to plant strawberry runners, but this is how I do it. Get rid of any weeds, make a little hole, push the runners in, secure them in place, push this one in here. I'll put them quite close together in case one of them doesn't take, and if they all take, I'll move them a bit further along. Water them in! And that's how I repot my runners. And I had to put a barrier up, well it's a clothes rail, to stop the dogs eating all my herbs. They're now behind the clothes area, staying protected. On to the greenhouse. So here's how the greenhouse is looking today. So these new peas I planted a couple of weeks ago are growing really well in here. I'm really hopeful that we're going to get some more peas before the end of the year. Really try and plant your peas at maybe a couple of week intervals so you have a continuous supply throughout the growing season. I have left a few pea pods in here to dry out, so hopefully I can seed save from these and grow more peas next year. Cayenne and jalapeno chili, they're doing okay. Pepper F1 salad, and we've got the Hungarian black chilies here. There is so many flowers on the Hungarian black chili. And they're such beautiful flowers. Oh, I've got a chilli in here, another black chilli at the back there. I will seed save from the best of these again this year. So we have got a few peppers growing down here. F1 Redskin peppers. Got a few peppers in here growing. I had loads of flowers on this one. I'm just really hopeful these will actually turn red this year. I don't think I've ever managed to get a pepper to turn red yet. Could this be the year? Now we've got aubergine. Look at all the flowers. I've never successfully managed to grow an aubergine in Scotland in my greenhouse yet. Although this is my second year trying. Forever hopeful about the aubergines. On to the tomatoes. There's definitely a lot less flowers appearing now. I mean, there is still a few up there, hitting the top of the greenhouse. Sun golds are just brilliant. These taste incredible. So next year I'll definitely be doing these again. The cherry tomatoes are doing pretty good as well. They're ripening up really nicely. I prefer how the sun golds taste over the cherry tomatoes. We have got a few fallouts down here. The ripest tomatoes that have already fallen off, I'm going to try and seed save from these, but I'll show you that a little bit later. And finally the moneymaker tomatoes. And I'm pleased to report they are finally ripening. They look fab. I've not tried these guys yet. So I'm going to harvest some of these today, give them a little try and make a decision whether I'd like to grow them again next year. With the cherry tomatoes, I have had a bit of a problem with them splitting. Pell, out! Out you go, darling. What do you want? Are you going to help me pick the tomatoes? Are you just here to try and eat them? Here for the hugs. With the cherry tomatoes, I have had a few problems with them splitting. You can probably see that split in the bottom of the tomato there. I have had this problem before. Turns out it's inconsistent watering. So if you're getting split in your tomatoes, most likely it's because your plant's getting too dry and then it gets a whole hoosh of water to the root, which then swells the fruit, and that's how they burst. Although it seems to be only the cherry tomatoes that seem to do this. The sun golds and the moneymakers seem to be fine for some reason. Another reason why I shan't be growing these again next year. Taste. And the fact is, most people are really busy and inconsistent watering is a factor of life, I think. The butternut squash is really spreading out. I haven't cut anything off the butter squash this year. We are still getting flowers. The two little butternut squashes that were down here have gone. I have got a random butternut squash down there, and under here got one butternut squash there and another one here. They are still really tiny, but as long as my thumb, same as that one in there. On to the sweet corn. That sweet corn at the back, I would say, is just about ready to get picked. Usually sweet corn are good to go in about September. All this is coming back now. They should be ready pretty soon. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 corn on the cobs that I can count there. Next year I am going to plant more down here, and that way if I lose a few, because I've got a few missing there, one missing here, so I've got spares in case any don't make it. Maximise the potential of getting corn on the cob. Little gem lettuce in here. These are the only survivors. I don't know what happened up here. Iceberg lettuce. I think I managed to treat this plant successfully for that little beetle. I've not seen him since. The winter lettuce is not looking its finest, but I'm going to let this go to seed so I can seed save from it. Spinach. If you're reading a bit more about seed saving, I think I'm going to seed save from this as well. And this is the Shiraz Monge 2 that was outside next to the archway. These are all crisped up really nicely. Hopefully I can seed save from these guys, and then I'll plant something else in this pot. So we've got the Himalayan blue poppy, Chinese lantern, and this is a passion flower plant. I really need to plant him somewhere and give him some support, and he can have somewhere to grow up to. And the lemongrass is coming on good as well. So in here we've got the Rooster Potatoes. These should be fine for another month or so. Under this netting, I did plant a selection of spring onions, lettuce and carrot. All the little carrot seedlings that were down here have gone, have been eaten. But one lettuce that seems to have survived. Everything else in there is weeds. I have another plan, but I'll show you that later. The Stuttgart onions. These guys are starting to look really good, but I'm going to leave them in the ground a little while longer. See them there? Oh yeah, they are looking quite good. Leave them in the ground a little while longer, let them get a bit bigger. That one looks really good. This is where the beetroot was, and we've got our courgettes up here. August, September seems to be courgette season. We have got some good courgettes coming. These are the Virginia 3s, and they've got regular zucchini courgette plant down here. Carrots are growing nicely. Onions down here. It's going to be a good while before they're ready. Parsnips in here. Every day I seem to see more and more parsnips. We've got here, here, that looks like a weed. Under here, that both looks like parsnips. And Brussels sprouts. Such a lovely Christmas winter veg. I really need to dig back these rogue potatoes. They are, and they are. The Atlantic giant pumpkin and the Crown Prince pumpkin. I was really hopeful that we were getting some pumpkins. That one seems to be dying. There is another little one in there. There is a little pumpkin in there. Time will tell if any of these stick. The Atlantic giant I don't think has produced anything as yet. Maybe there is one over there. Could that be an Atlantic giant pumpkin possibility? Time will tell. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be enough time for the pumpkins to ripen before Halloween now. We might get the smallest pumpkin ever. I'm going to try some seed saving for my Shiraz Mange 2 this year and a few other things. Get an envelope, label it right on the envelope what you're going to put in it. Always handy to label everything. Get my envelope handy. Just going to open it up, pick out the seeds. Plenty dry now. So that's how the seeds look. Pop them in your envelope, seal it up and keep them for next year. So I'm going to repeat this process with the peas and the marrow peas, so hopefully we'll have seeds for next year. So I've done my seed saving for my peas, I've popped the new peas outside, popped in some more bamboo, and yes, they're sitting where the potatoes were. These were the Shiraz Mange 2, so I'm now going to replace that with the passion fruit flower. Having these supports will help it just grow up the wall a little bit easier. Make a little bit of room for it. Put a little hole in there, throw in a little bit of plant food and just mix that in a little bit. Can you see all the roots there? Definitely tree potted. Pop in the passion flower, secure it in. I'm gonna pop my supports in. These are just ropes with little tent peg things at the bottom. Help them have something to grow up. Just gonna give them a little bit of encouragement by wrapping them around these strings. Passion fruit flower should be a little bit happier now he's got a bit more support. Going to do some tomato harvesting and some seed saving. The little sieve is for seed saving from tomatoes, and the biggest thing I have to put tomatoes in to collect them is a wok. Seed saving first. So I'm going to pick the tomatoes that have actually fallen off the plant, because that means they should be really ripe. So that's the ones I'm going to save. Right, we will pick the biggest ones as well. These will be my seed savers. Now I'm going to pick everything else that's ready. Oh, they come off so easily. So when the tomatoes are ripe, they come off really, really easily. The rest of the tomatoes I'm just going to leave over the next few weeks. Hopefully more will ripen. Time to pick some brambles. So be careful when you're picking your berries. Some brambles like this are a little bit spiky. Also try not to bruise them or damage them when you're taking them off the plant, so they stay riper longer. Yum. Onto the raised beds. Right, I've been having a few problems, well I think with slugs and snails, but something's definitely eating whatever I put in that raised bed. So I have a plan. I've decided I'm going to utilise my propagator until the seeds are strong enough or big enough, so hopefully they won't get eaten as seedlings. That's my plan. Is it going to work? We're going to find out. There's a few things I want to try planting for winter growing, and there's a few things I think I can plant before the winter kicks in. So one of them is lettuce. I really want to try beetroot. It says I can sow up to July. I know it's the end of August. Let's live dangerously. I'm going to sow the Autumn King 2 carrots. Worst case scenario, I shall get baby carrots. We can but hope. I'm going to give the Romanesco cauliflower a try. And lastly, winter peas. I am determined to get these things to work this year. I've got my little seed trays here, I've got my propagator. In the description box below I will leave details of where I got all this kind of stuff from. Lettuce, are going to go in these ones. And I'm going to do a few winter peas in here, but I'm also going to try planting them outside and see how they come on. These are the beetroots I'm going to use. If they grow, we can separate them out. So the cauliflower we're going to use, Ramasco early. So by 2020s, give it a try, why not? That's how they look. Carrots, Autumn King 2. I've got many of these carrot seeds left, so I'm going to throw them all in. I'll just gently cover them over. Onto little gem lettuce. This is another one that's so by the end of 2020. Iceberg lettuce. Well, since there's hardly left, let's throw them in. All year round lettuce. We'll see about that. I don't think this stuff has ever been that successful for me. Oh god, this is another one. So by the end of 2020. That's all the seeds in now. We'll get them watered in. Put the lid on and we'll get them in the greenhouse. Popped off the green mesh protector box and I've weeded this bed. The only thing that looks like it's supposed to be there is this. A lettuce. One lonely lettuce. I got a comment the other day about eggshell and it did make me think. The idea is slugs and snails don't like eggshells. Crush them up and sprinkle them in your garden so the slugs and snails don't like it. I have tried it in the past with not much luck. So I actually cook for the dogs twice a week. I usually make them a rice and egg mix and I save the eggshells. Yes, this is all eggshells. So wash the shells, put them in the micro for a minute or two, let them dry out, crush them. So my plan is to put the theory to the test. So that's a lot of crushed eggshell. Operation Protect Plant. I'm just going to sprinkle eggshell all the way around this plant. Like a circle that wards off evil. We'll see if this helps protect the lettuce from the slugs and snails. Do you know, a bit extra for just good luck. If that lettuce survives without getting eaten, I mean it's not the most scientific thing, I'll be honest, but at least it'll give me a good idea if it works or not. I'm also going to put the green box protector back on top of this. This is where the beetroot was. I've stuck in some bamboo canes because in here I'm going to plant these peas for spring and autumn sowing. So just stick your bamboo cane in. Well, they're about 30 centimetres apart. Not that I measured it, I just eyeballed it. So I'm going to stick 4 pea seeds around each bamboo cane. So 4 around each cane. Press them in. Water in your peas. My peas are watered in, so I'm going to give them a liberal coating of eggshell as well. All in the name of science and learning. Mostly learning. Maybe just dampen them down a little bit as well, just so they don't move. Too much eggshell? Surely not. Also, remember to write a label for whatever you put in. Job done. Here's our harvest for today. Sun gold tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and these are the moneymaker tomatoes. We've got a load of brambles as well. These are the sun gold tomatoes I'm going to seed save from, so I'll cut them up in a minute. And this pot is full of all the tomatoes that are split and that I'm not going to be using. It is a lesson to us all to water consistently. We're going to do some seed saving with these tomatoes. So get yourself some kitchen roll, get a sheet of that, place that over here. Get your tomatoes you want to seed save from. Get my tomato seeds, spread them out. Oh, it's a bit of a messy process. Put that to one side. Here we go. Cut through. Be very careful. I'm just going to squeeze out all those little seeds out the tomato onto my kitchen roll. Try and scrape as much of the seeds out of the pulp, so that way they will dry a whole lot quicker. So I'm just going to repeat this process with all 6 of my tomatoes here. So I've opened up all of my tomatoes and here are all the seeds. Going to take another piece of kitchen roll, place that on top. Try and get as much moisture out that as possible. Going to take my seeds and just scrape them onto a dry piece of kitchen roll, and this will help them dry out a little bit faster hopefully. So that's the sun gold tomato seeds on the kitchen roll. I'm just going to leave them here to dry out for hopefully the next week. We've got an envelope, obviously I've labelled it. I'll pop the seeds in here when they're dry and then we'll try and grow them next year. So that's a few of the seeds saved. Tomato seeds are going to dry. I'm going to go and eat some brambles. If you've enjoyed this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Obviously subscribing is optional, but it's very much appreciated. And thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! that's a seed pod all dried up. So this is my Shiraz Monge too, so I'm just going to open this up. Woo! Oh, and there's forky tails. Oh, oh guys, get out. Oh, okay, well we'll leave them ones. Oh, and yes, I'm very happy with the lights. It might have been quite a struggle to get the fairy lights up. Totally worth it. So I've got lights in this tree now. Lights all up the archway. And a lovely evening seat as well now, obviously when it gets a bit darker. Well worth it, I would say. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!